When one considers the definition of formula, it is a wrap. And I will put other proofs about the wordplay at the end of this video. The first definition in the Webster's Dictionary, Merriam-Webster, 9th New Collegiate Dictionary. It's a rather old dictionary. Okay, it's probably at least over a decade old. Okay, we get number 1, a set form of words for use in a ceremony or ritual. In a ceremony or ritual, a set form of words for use in a ceremony or ritual. The fourth definition they give us is a prescribed or set form or method as of writing, an established rule or custom, often used derogatorily. The example they give us is television programs that were unimaginative formula works. Okay. So obviously we see the kind of profanity, the kind of the sexual references. And this also gives us the idea of what kind of people they are. It has to do with Hades, Pluto, men, the riches beneath the earth, these deities, and how they relate to them, and the gnomes. The gnomes are a people, and it has everything to do with gnosis and knowledge, right? It's even after the word gnese. Okay. Gnome is an ageless and often deformed dwarf of folklore who lives in the earth and usually guards precious ores or treasure. Okay. So for those of you who think I would make this up, oh man, it's right up toward the top here. The second gnome there. The first one doesn't really have a definition. Okay. 3, 2, 1. Pause it. Moving on. Then we'll get to all the highlighted stuff is key, but I'm going to go through my notes, for this stuff, okay? For the form. Bear with me now. Okay, so these are the pages I'm going to go over. Pause, if you will, whatnot. Starting from the bottom of this page, moving on to this page and ending with the next page. Okay. These are key definitions. 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. And I'll also post this at the end of this video if I remember. I have a lot to do. There's so much information that proves me right. And always ask yourself, why am I the only one doing this to this degree as a martial artist who has challenged other people? Okay, that's definitive. So we look at the word for in arm. We get form. But is this accurate? Is the wordplay with rough, where the M is the arc, the 13th letter, the M is removed. We go back, remove the interchangeable vowels, vowel to L, and we get rough. We also get roof, okay? As opposed to the point, the tip of the spear, the tip of the pyramid, etc. The top of the pyramid should be very much so compared to the arrow and the arrowhead and the spearhead. Okay. The idea of measure up, let's start there. This is also a reference to indecorous fornication, which ironically comes in the dictionary after the word formil. Okay, we have the word fornication, right? So it is absolutely correct in terms of the wordplay and the location of the words that we assume that all these references to sex are correct, that these are actual references. Okay. Okay, this is not some guy's who is undersexed, being carried away and his imagination getting the best of him, but this is actually how it is. We get the word formidable. Okay, form add a bull, right? The bull, ball, bill, bull. Okay, there's more wordplay there, but let me just shoot through this. If you want on your own, you can work the different angles using the formula, the codex I've given you. Information, right, is information upholding the idea of a form. In form, A for alpha, the falcon, the hawk, for Haru, hare, and we'll get to hare in a momentarily. Okay, Haru, hawk, and so on. Whore, the whore and the Playboy bunny versus the hawk as a martial arts creature, and the hare as a martial arts idea of kind of dodging side to side, unpredictable, to keep from being struck. Okay, obviously I can't move that effectively, drugged and in the chair and so on. Moving on. Reformation, the Protestant Reformation. Okay, We've gone over formula, a set form of words for use in a ceremony or ritual. And of course, there's mathematical formulas. Look up integrated martial sciences on your own. Also, as an established custom, okay, a rule or custom is a formula. Formation, okay, the mountain range, for instance, rock formations. Form, a body of a person, a prescribed and set order of words. Okay, form itself also refers to the words, form and formula, mind you. Perform, right, the performance, demonstration, kitty, right, conform and conformation, formation of something using appropriate parts. Of course, reform, okay. Former, not the latter. It goes back to Jacob's ladder or Ra-Cub's ladder. Formative, giving or capable of giving form. Formative, you know. Form criticism is also used especially with the Bible in terms of poetry and so on and so forth. Forme, arms narrow and expanding toward the ends, especially of a cross. Form-fitting, conforming to the outline of the body, right? To fashion a weapon, form or fashion. Your ability to maneuver in certain clothes and how they restrict your movements, right? And they give the advantage to the people who are in boot camp, right? Getting kicked out or given the boot, right? How does that relate to skywalking versus being set in place? Setting things in motion and so on and so forth. Formal, right? The form of all, the form of L. Formal, L is Lord, okay? Formal dress, what does it reflect? It reflects people's social status in more than one way. Format, for the mat. Sekhmet, seek mat. Okay, and of course fornicate comes after formal, F-O-R-M-Y-L, which is something to do with chemistry. Okay, so I've gone over lesson, to take away from, lay son, listen, lay son, both the word plays there, the T is the plus and so on, interchangeable vowels. Earn, learn, taught, right? He ought to know better, right? The T removed. Attention, I've gone over the tension and the A, tension, right? And how the martial artists are more likely to learn when someone like me is teaching, and how the bitches are more likely to learn in some kind of formal classroom, setting. This goes back to instruction and body structure and masonry and building structures and so on. Figure and configure. Fashion and fashion to mold, right? Fashion of clothes. Tall, right? They say sparring is given the advantage to people who are tall. And the T is the feminine suffix. From a bitch's perspective, it is. Think about it. Who is more maneuverable? The man. A lot of people don't want to look at it that way, but women can be stronger than a lot of men. And some women can lift like 350 pounds or something. Okay? There's many a big bitch in the ghetto beating a bitch with a baseball bat. But can she maneuver effectively? No. She tends to be able to get strong, not as strong as the strongest men, mind you, but stronger than most, right? She doesn't have much of a problem in that regard. She does not have much of a problem in gymnastics and ice skating. But when it comes to the maneuvering that has to do with martial arts, she struggles. This has to do with body structure as well, and I'm sure you can figure out why that is on your own. Okay. Danger has wordplay assigned to it. Day, near, rain, add. Okay. Raw, nod, die, near. So if people truly figure out what's going on, they're going to want to die near the top martial artist. It's right there in their cultural wordplay. Of course, they've accepted Luciferianism and Satanism if they're not inclined to do that. And so is the word threat. Threat backwards, replace the E and the A. Remember, the T and the H can be removed or kept. You get Tyr. Remember, Tyr put his hand in Fenris's mouth so he could be chained, and putting people in prison who are misbehaving when you yourself are misbehaving, like corrupt cops and so on. A lot of parallels. There's also parallels to Star Wars. What happened to Luke Skywalker's hand? What happened to Darth Vader's hand? Okay, it was chopped off, okay, by a lightsaber. And so we also get the word 3A, right? T-H-R-E, 3, and A, where the T is the plus. So from threat, which is mind, body, and soul. When somebody sees the mind, body, and soul of a follower of Ra, they perceive the threat. Now, bear with me, even though they're fuming me. I'm going to show you an example. Okay, again, they've reduced from my facial structure. They've reduced me in a way that is approaching a feminine, or excuse me, a lesbian kind of presentation, or a gender neutral look. Obviously, I despise this. I deplore the idea. I find it repugnant. I think that any time you make a righteous man look like people who are misbehaving, he hates them more and not less. And I do think that this is definitive proof that they are provoking me, and you're insane if you don't see it that way. So let's look at the words that have old in it. Scold, fold, mold, bold, told, cold. Now, is the old man likely to prefer martial arts and sparring, and a young man's life who dies in passion? Or does he prefer the survivor perspective? Are Masons old? Are presidents? Okay, now that we've gotten that out of the way, let's go over this one more time. The key part, the formula. A set form of words for use in a ceremony or ritual. Right. What makes somebody a formidable opposition? In martial arts, you have forms. Kata, from the word ka, which means the spirit. And the usurpers made it the spirit of the bull, okay, as opposed to the true spirit of Ra. Again, fixating on the flesh and on the worldly aspects versus the Skywalker and Grace. These are also the people in the formal setting that prefer elegance, right? Splendor in terms of worldly, riches, which come from the gnomes, which goes back to gnosis and knowledge, and hypnosis and hippo and hippopotamus, okay? We went over the structure, the figure, the fashion, okay? And we went over form, a body of a person, right? That even directly refers to the form of a person. What is this person's form, okay? And where does it come from? How has it been cultivated? And how does that relate to culture and sex cults? If you are starting to despise women, it's not because you're misogynist and you're missing the point. It is because you realize what they perhaps were at some points and what they aren't. You realize that you have been cheated out of what you naturally would have. There is no excuse. Cowardice is not an excuse. Period. If you raped a woman and said I'm afraid to not have my sexual needs met, and what I might do, is that an excuse? If you rob a bank and say I was afraid of being poor, is that an excuse? If you kill somebody and say, this guy, he seemed scary when I saw him, so I killed him. Right? Cowardice is not an excuse. They have no excuse. Women should submit themselves to me immediately for redemption. Right? Not red up shun, rather. Red up ion, right? But the true spirit of Ra. The true left eye as the passive. And this is a form of me being passive. And the yellow for being aggressive. So again, I'm going to put the dictionary pages at the end of the book. I'm going to put some of the wordplay, etymology, morphology, and some of the other things, that symbols and sigils, and things that I forget to bring up from time to time to overkill my point. There is no way around this. I am correct. They're suppressing my videos. It is cowardice. It is man's inability to truly desire to do the will of God that makes him fall short. And Martin Luther King's story and Martin Luther King Day is an example of this, though I do not believe he was in the divine order, but I do believe he was reaching out for it intensely, and there's something to be said about that. However, I don't believe it is honorable to pretend that anyone is holy outside of the divine order, and I do not think it is honorable for anyone to pretend that they are holy after I die, unless I truly restore the divine order and I plant a seed. Thank you.